1944. Normandy Hedgerows. The dawn after Omaha Beach brought a heavy, almost surreal calm. Private James Miller rose from the sand, his body screaming from every ache. Around him, the survivors moved across a scarred landscape, moving like shadows, faces etched with exhaustion, grief, and disbelief. The air was thick with cordite, smoke, salt, and the acrid scent of blood. The sea still whispered behind them, indifferent to the chaos it had delivered. Miller checked his pack carefully, wiping sand from his face and adjusting his M1 Garand. Every step reminded him of what they had survived, and of those who hadn't. Bodies lay strewn across the sand, men frozen in the instant before death claimed them. His mind went to Davis, his closest friend, whose laughter had been silenced forever. He had promised to survive for both of them. The men formed up in squads, moving cautiously toward the hedgerows, a dense tangle of Normandy's bocage that would become both shield and trap. Miller's heart raced. He thought about the beach, the screams, the cries for help, and the impossible task ahead. Surviving the countryside that was now a deadly maze. The sun began to rise, casting pale light across the blood-stained sand. Every man moved forward, driven by duty, fear, and sheer willpower. The hedgerows stretched endlessly, towering above the soldiers like walls of green steel. Each hedge contained hidden threats: snipers, machine guns, and concealed artillery. Every step forward was tentative, calculated, and terrifying. The soldiers moved in squads, scanning every shadow, listening for the faintest sound. Miller followed Davis, who had always been his guide through danger. But today, there was no guide. Today, they had to trust instincts honed by terror and training. The ground was soaked from the previous night's rains. Mud clung to boots, weighed down packs, and slowed movement. Tanks rumbled behind the line, firing at positions identified by forward observers. Shells ripped through the hedgerows, splintering wood and earth, sending sprays of mud into faces. Yet the Germans seemed everywhere and nowhere, vanishing after each volley. Miller crawled into a ditch to avoid gunfire. The cries of wounded men filled the air, mingling with the relentless chatter of gunfire and the deep boom of artillery. Time lost all meaning. Each second felt like a lifetime. He could almost hear Davis's voice in his head. "Keep moving, Jimmy. Don't stop. Don't think. Survive." By late morning, Miller's company entered a small clearing, deceptively calm. As they crossed, machine gun fire erupted from a concealed position. Soldiers fell instantly. The earth shook with the blast of mortars and grenades. Screams and shouts created a chaotic symphony, punctuated by the sharp crack of rifles. Miller dove behind a hedgerow, mud and leaves sticking to his sweat-drenched uniform. Davis fired from cover, his face pale, eyes blazing. Miller could feel his pulse in his ears, adrenaline and fear coursing through him. Around him, men struggled to advance, some frozen, others crawling forward, driven only by instinct. Bodies littered the ground. Miller's hands shook as he reloaded. Every friend lost was a reminder of the stakes. Every step forward was an act of defiance against death itself. The clearing fell silent only when the Germans withdrew, leaving behind devastation. Medics rushed to drag the wounded to safety. Miller forced himself to move, carrying memories and grief in each step. Diary, June 7, 1944. The hedgerows are alive, hiding death at every turn. Every bush, every mound, every tree could be a trap. I move slowly, listening, calculating each step, praying for strength. Each man around me is someone's brother, someone's son. I can only hope to survive, to carry their memory forward. Writing became a lifeline, a tether to sanity amidst chaos. Miller pressed the notebook to his chest, grounding himself in a reality that refused to feel human. Even as bullets and shells tore through the landscape, he found solace in words. The days dragged on with unrelenting pressure. Rain fell in sheets, turning the bocage into a quagmire. Soldiers slipped, guns jammed, and boots sank into the mud. Every advance seemed to cost more than the last. Miller moved forward, hearing only the sound of shells, cries, and his own heartbeat. He could see the toll on his comrades, exhaustion, despair, and silent grief etched into faces. They had survived Omaha Beach, yet every step toward St. Lo felt like crossing another battlefield. The Germans struck with precision, using hedgerows as natural bunkers. Mortar shells tore through squads, and sniper fire was constant. Each advance required planning, courage, and blind trust in those beside him. June 11th arrived gray and wet. Miller and Davis moved cautiously through a maze of hedgerows, scouting for enemy positions. Suddenly, a mortar round exploded nearby. Shrapnel tore through Davis's chest. Miller was at his side in seconds, cradling him as blood soaked the uniform. Davis coughed, whispering weakly, "Jimmy, St. Lo, survive. For us." Miller's hands shook as he held his friend. Around them, battle raged on as if nothing had changed. Miller whispered promises he hoped he could keep. Davis gave a faint, approving smile and then was gone. Diary, June 11th, 1944. Davis. Gone. I held him as life left him. I promised I would survive, that I would carry him forward. The hedgerows have claimed too many, but we must push onward. For the fallen, for hope. The days following Davis's death were a test of endurance. The men pressed on, moving through mud, debris, and death. Sniper fire, ambushes, and hidden artillery continued to claim lives. Every soldier carried grief, fear, and determination in equal measure. Miller moved methodically, checking each hedge, every clearing. Fatigue weighed on him, but he pressed forward, driven by duty and the memory of fallen friends. The camaraderie between soldiers became a fragile, sacred bond. Laughter, prayer, and whispered encouragement punctuated the relentless march, grounding them amid chaos. On June 12th, Miller's squad entered a shattered village. Houses bore the scars of bombardment. Streets were filled with rubble. The town was eerily silent, devoid of civilians, but their presence lingered in the remnants of life. A toy, a tattered curtain, a book left open. Miller moved cautiously, rifle ready. Every corner, window, and alley was a potential death trap. Tanks rumbled behind, artillery providing cover. Smoke, fog, and the smell of damp earth filled the air. Despite horror, traces of life remained. The village seemed to whisper resilience, a silent witness to survival and endurance. June 14th brought open fields, a deadly gauntlet. The Germans had fortified positions, and Miller's company faced heavy resistance. Mortars fell, bullets tore through fences and crops, and men crawled or ran for every inch. Miller pressed forward, exhausted, heart heavy with grief for Davis and others. Each step was a struggle, but giving up was impossible. Survival meant advancing, carrying the fallen in memory and spirit. June 15th, 1944. The outskirts of St. Lo lay ahead, battered but enduring. Miller pressed forward, exhausted but determined. The road had been long, filled with loss and terror, yet each step was a triumph. Diary, June 15th, 1944. St. Lo, we made it. We are not the boys who landed at Omaha. We are survivors, forged in fear, fire, and loss. Davis is gone, but I carry him in my heart. The fallen are with me. We move forward, we survive, and we remember. As night fell, Miller tucked his diary away. The battle for St. Lo had been costly, but it was also a testament to courage, endurance, and the indomitable human spirit. The fight was far from over, but they had survived, honoring the fallen and moving history forward.